Podcast 411, Item 237, December 16th, 2025. Zach Smith, host of the Menace2Sports Podcast.
Podcast411.com. Listen different.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Rob, and this is the Podcast 411 Podcast. Before we get into the interview with Zach, first, a news item. And that is, I want to congratulate the recently announced 2026 Podcast Hall of Fame class. Special shout out to Mark Asquith, Dan Garland, and Paul Colligan. Three people I have known for many, many years. All are great people and friends, and I'm so happy for them to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, or 2026. Gentlemen, congratulations. The Podcast Hall of Fame ceremony will be Friday, January 16th at PodFest in Orlando. And I look forward to seeing all those that attend for the induction ceremony and the event overall. I'll have a link in the show notes so that you can see the full class list for 2026 of the HOF. And, again, congratulations to everyone that made it in. As always, your feedback is greatly desired. 206-MOM-HELP. That's 206-666-4357. Or you can send feedback or your show's promo to podcast411@gmail.com. And please, anyone you know that listened to the feed, tell them Podcast 411 is back. Again, today's episode, we have an interview with Zach Smith, host of the Menace2Sports Podcast. If you are someone that has video or plans to have video, and you have a plan to have YouTube be a big part of your video strategy, or they already are, then you must listen to this interview and the issues Zach has had with YouTube and how he pivoted his show because of said issues. Without further ado, here we go. Zach, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
All right. So, new first question, I'll hit you up with it here is, what was the first podcast you listened to?
Oh, man. I think the Joe Rogan podcast went, and I don't know, you obviously are an expert in this field. I don't know when podcasts became so popular, really exploded, because when I started mine in 2019, that was kind of, I feel like, on the front end of this explosion. And when I announced I was going to do it, I just heard of podcasts. I was like, I should do one of those. And so I announced I was going to do it, but I wasn't ready to do it. I didn't have a mic or anything. So I listened to Joe Rogan's podcast just because that's the one that I'd heard of.
It's a really good one to heard of and to learn from, right? He's done it well.
He kills it. It was awesome. And that's where I started learning about podcasts, was just listening to his show and Googling and researching, and here we are.
Are there any that you listen to now on a regular basis?
I don't. We put two shows out a day. I do listen to Josh Pate. That's probably the only other sports show I listen to. And with 4 kids and chaos and sports, it's just like, I don't even know when I could.
Well, that leads us to your podcast. What is your podcast? Tell the audience what it is, what it's about, who your co-hosts are.
Yeah, sure. So it's called Menace2Sports. Kind of a background. I used to coach college football for 14 years. I coached, got to a pretty high level at Ohio State. I was a receiver coach. Huge scandal. I'm sure anyone listening remembers this scandal. That was all about me. And initially, I got fired from Ohio State. And initially, all advice from mentors and friends was just to lay low, be quiet. 6 months later, it's old news. You'll get another job. And I tried it for about 3 months, but my name was constantly being referenced in the media, constantly being lied about, to the point where I said, you know what? I don't care if I ever coach again. I'm going to talk. I'm going to respond to this. And that's kind of when I decided to start a podcast. Initially, it was kind of to clear my name or tell my story. And then it morphed into just an edgy, raw and real sports show called Menace2Sports. So I started it. I was by myself initially. Once we grew, I hired a co-host, Chris Drew. He was an Akron radio legend. And I hired him away from his radio station. He's my co-host. And now we go every day live at noon.
Nice. College football, I'll just give you a little background on my fandom on that. I went to the University of Dayton undergrad. It's nothing there. I was actually there when Gruden was there. I started my MBA at Kansas, and then quickly I got transferred at work to Connecticut. So I got my MBA for UConn. So the 3 schools I went to are Dayton, University of Kansas, and UConn. So I'm like
perennials.
Yeah, I'm like no college football for me. So I have kids, and then my son he goes out. He's now a sophomore in college, and he got accepted at a bunch of schools. He got accepted at Penn State, at Texas A&M, at Illinois, at Tennessee, Michigan, but he chose Purdue. So I still don't have a college football school, but I have been partial to Ohio State just from, I had a serious girlfriend in college, and her father was the Ohio State type of fan that was, if Ohio State had a 1-10 season and that one win was Michigan, it was a good year. And if it was 10-1 and the loss was Michigan, fire the coach.
Absolutely. Which there's plenty of those.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk more college football later, but I wanted to put a little perspective of my background. So unfortunately, I was up at the Purdue Indiana game this year. Saw that one. My son, I got to say to him, how many times as a college football fan do you get to go to the number 1 team in the nation and the number 2 team in the nation at your home in the same season? Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, so he just has, unfortunately, for the last 2 years, not seen good football there. And I really,
Purdue's down bad right now.
Yeah, I really thought Odom was going to turn around this year. We'll see what happens next year. All right. So when you started your podcast, you listened to Rogan and your setup. What is your setup? Explain a little bit about your current recording setup.
So now I have an audio interface where all of our, so I have 2 studios. I have a home studio. We actually opened a legit studio in an office building. So my home studio is simple. I just have an audio interface that my microphone is plugged into. Both studios are video capable. So we have Sony A6400 cameras that we use. I custom built a PC both for my home studio and the actual studio with, I forget the name of it. It's an HDMI card where there's 4 HDMI inputs, so I can have multiple camera inputs. The audio interface is USB interface into the computer, and we do everything because we go live, and because we go live so many places, we use StreamYard as our kind of home to record and to broadcast live, and then download the video and audio, and then post-produce, master the audio, and put it out as a podcast after the fact. But that's pretty much the gist of it. We have 3 cameras in studio, 3 mics in studio with a much bigger interface, much more capable interface, and but still run through all the same software. We use Adobe Audition to do all of our post-production. It's not probably what I'd recommend. It's very complex, but we have used Adobe products forever, and so it just kind of fits when you use Photoshop and use After Effects and when you use the Adobe suite. It kind of feels natural, but I know there's far simpler programs out there. It's way too powerful for what we need it to do, but it works.
And it's what you're used to now. So
yeah, right.
Trying to learn something new is never fun.
No doubt.
And you have the video, and it was one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on. Up till a short period of time ago, you used to have the video on YouTube.
Yeah.
What happened there?
So I was probably going into year 3 of the podcast, so like 2021 season, we decided, and this is when my co-host came on, we decided we wanted to go live on YouTube just to build another source of revenue and to have a video show to go with the audio platform. And so we launched our YouTube channel. We grew it to 40,000 subs. It was really continually growing. I mean, just kind of the sky's the limit type of thing. And randomly, I think we have a very edgy show, and randomly, I think people would report our episodes for foul language, or, they didn't like what I said about their football team, whatever it was.
But foul language isn't a big deal. No, I mean, it's not supposed to be strike worthy. I mean, Rogan, they have a number of F-bombs that drop there. I mean,
that's what so long story short, the YouTube channel got taken down, and I'll kind of tell you how it happened, but that's what everyone that listens to my show says. Joe Rogan's doing drugs and dropping F-bombs the whole show, and he's allowed to stay. It's crazy, but
and he's not the only one. I mean, there's a lot of others, right?
No,
and many other YouTubers that lots of profanity. And I listened to multiple podcasts of yours. There was nothing strike worthy.
No. Nothing. And so usually what used to happen was we'd get a strike, we'd appeal it, and a human being would watch the show and say, yeah, that's not a strike, and they'd remove it. So that's what it's happened maybe a handful of times in the 4 years that we were doing YouTube. And then recently, about 6 weeks ago, we got a strike, and it was very vague. It said it was for community guidelines for promoting something illegal. Well, like, I'm on the show. I know I didn't promote anything illegal. So I just hit appeal. Within 30 seconds, appeal denied, first concrete strike against your channel. And we got a 1 week ban from YouTube. So forced us to adapt and pivot. As you know, we have advertisers, and I'm like, well, we can't not do a show for a week. There's people that are paying to advertise that week. And so we went live on Facebook, live on Twitter, and kind of used our website as kind of the place to drive people. And we still hit decent numbers. The advertisers weren't upset. Like they got their return on investment. And all the while, I'm trying to research what we did wrong. And no one at YouTube would respond. All the YouTube accounts on Twitter that are supposed to be customer service, none of them would respond. I got no explanation ever. So we came back after the week suspension. We started that Monday. We did a Monday show, Tuesday show, Wednesday show, Thursday show, strike 2. Same thing happened. I submit an appeal. Within 30 seconds, it gets shut down. Now we have a 2-week ban. And so during that 2-week ban, we had the same plan, and I'm trying to research what we did wrong or what not to do because
and this is all happening during college football season. So it's not like your down period.
No, this is our peak right here. It's the back stretch of the season. I mean, what you're talking about. So after our 2-week strike, we came back to do our show live on YouTube the Monday of Thanksgiving, which is also Ohio State, Michigan. We have a huge Ohio State following and Michigan following. So it was like the most critical week to do the show. And we came back Monday. And what I'd learned in that 2-week suspension through talking to some people with bigger shows, Josh Pate was one of them, and who he has a direct relationship with YouTube because he makes 7 figures doing his show. He reached out to YouTube, and basically the gist was they rolled out an AI-driven community monitor program where AI was scrubbing channels looking for violations. And they also allowed AI to be the appeal process. So nice. when we appealed it, and I knew it wasn't a human, we'd get rejected in 30 seconds. Like there's no way that a human went and looked into it. So you knew it was AI. And I guess that they're scrambling right now because this is happening to a bunch of channels. They're just getting blown to smithereens. So we came back on Monday after a 2-week strike, a 2-week suspension with 2 strikes, knowing a 3rd strike would end us on YouTube. And so we had a meeting before the show, and we don't ever do this. We were going to keep it clean, no foul language. Like all of our ad reads were very in stores type of products, like nothing edgy. And we were like, let's just get through this week. We got to have this week because it's a rivalry week. We did our show Monday, and I'm telling you, 10 minutes after the show, we got our 3rd strike. And it was over. They took the whole channel from us.
You know, they say AI, right? Artificial intelligence, artificial sweetener, artificial turf.
Right.
Not real intelligence.
No, absolutely not.
I'm sorry to hear that. But then you pivoted.
We had to. We built that YouTube channel, and I guess the optimist in me said, you know what, it's the biggest week of the year. If there's a time to pivot to another platform, this is the one where it'll grow faster than other weeks. So I'd been told that Rumble was a great alternative to YouTube where we could do more, because YouTube also, they limit stuff you can do, which is covered under fair use, federal law. Like I can't show any image, any video of football games and talk about what's going on YouTube. Although it's covered under fair use, somehow that's a copyright strike on YouTube. Where Rumble, that doesn't happen.
As long as you're not using the video for entertainment. This is what I try to tell folks.
Yes.
If you're showing the video because it was something funny, that's not going to ever be fair use. But if you're showing it for instructional purposes, like look at this, this play here, this, RPO, and look at what they did here and this and how they messed it up. That is fair use.
Yeah, it's covered. But YouTube didn't see it that way. And I've never been able to talk to somebody at YouTube about it. I've tried for years. And so I had heard about Rumble, that they let you do more. They don't really care about anything unless you're like actually breaking the law on the show. Like they
are free speech absolutists. I love it.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So we said, all right, let's launch it there. We knew from the suspensions that we were going to be able to get decent numbers on our website, Twitter, and Facebook. So we figured adding Rumble will just add some more views to what we had done in those 3 weeks we were off YouTube. And it exploded right away. I mean, we've been on there for like a week and a half, and I think we have almost 3,000 followers, they call them, already. And our video views, not only did they not go down from what they were doing on YouTube, they increased already. And we haven't even built a 40,000 person following yet. And it just opened our eyes to how much YouTube suppresses you in the algorithm, how much they control and really dictate who's going to have a good show and who's not because of where they place you on their pecking order.
That's the problem with YouTube. One of the sadder examples was when they suppressed Roseanne Barr, who is Jewish, for being anti-Semitic.
Right. Like what?
Yeah. I mean, so in what the issue that you've had not being able to get a hold of people, I hear that all the time from producers.
Yeah.
When the issues come up. So I'm glad to hear that Rumble is working out for you. What are the tools that you, and I noticed you already have the Rumble halftime and you're working Rumble into your show. What are some of the tools you're using with them? You said you're going live with StreamYard.
Yeah.
Right? So you're connecting StreamYard right into Rumble. What are you doing? How do you do it?
Yeah. So we're not doing it yet. We're just trying to get through season right now. But in the off season, we're going to look into using the Rumble Studio as an alternative to StreamYard because there's things you can do. You can become a Rumble creator and they'll drop how much of your advertising revenue they take down to 10%, which YouTube takes 45. So that would be a blessing. And I think we're going to look into doing that after the season. But right now we connect it to StreamYard, which it's not as easy as YouTube. We have to connect it every day as opposed to just linking them and you can go live whenever. But we do it just as we did with YouTube, just now Destination Rumble.
So what's the URL for your show at Rumble?
It's just rumble.com/Menace2Sports, the number 2.
All right. We'll put that link in the show notes, folks. So monetization, you said they're taking a little cut. So for your podcast overall, how are you monetizing your show? Where are you making the most money? How are you doing on the monetization side?
It's been a learning process, but I mean, it's been every year it's gone up, it's increased, some years monumentally. We started out, a funny story, how I found what used to be called AdvertiseCast that Libsyn acquired, but I was doing the show, massive numbers. And I didn't have any advertisers. I didn't even know how to find advertisers. And I had a guy reach out to me that listened to the show, said, "Hey, what if I start selling advertising for you?" I said, "That sounds great." What I didn't know was he knew about AdvertiseCast. So he placed my show on AdvertiseCast. When they would do sell ad reads, he would send me the script, take 30% of my money, and then AdvertiseCast was getting a cut too. I had no idea he was doing it. And so,
that is too funny.
Oh, and the best part was the guy lived in Canada. I don't even think I could have any legal recourse, but he's how I ended up finding out is I'm trying to grow the show and grow revenue. I found AdvertiseCast and I submitted my show to be on their platform and they said, "It's already on here." I was like, "What? How? I didn't put it on there." And then finally I talked to someone at AdvertiseCast and they let me in the back end. And I'm going through, one, I got him removed as an admin, and 2, I'm seeing the payouts. And he's selling advertising to me at a much lower rate than they were selling it to him. So he robbed me blind of, I'm talking $15,000, $20,000.
I would love to know offline who that was, but I am not going to put that one on the air for legal reasons. But that is just a horror story.
It was, but it's been a growing process. I'm a football coach. I don't know anything about this.
Right.
So that was a big one. Once we started getting ad reads, and then the switch to putting hosting our podcast with Libsyn to add dynamic ad reads into the audio side was huge. That tripled our revenue on the year. And then signing an exclusive deal to fill the show year round was massive also. So that's just the one way advertising on the podcast, on the audio side, or really on all platforms, just the total reach. And then YouTube. We were making money off of YouTube, obviously, which now switched to Rumble, which is not quite as good. But my hope and what I'm finding is if the reach continues to be better than YouTube, the money will come on the other end when we sell advertising, right? Mm-hmm. Just for overall reach. So I'm not overly worried about the less revenue on Rumble.
And then you've only been on there for a few weeks, right?
Yeah, we've only been on there like a week and a half. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I like it. I like the algorithm better. I think it makes our show unique. Because of this happening, we've been able to brand ourselves as the only sports show that's too raw and real for YouTube. So we've made it into something good. So that's how we monetize the show. And then obviously we use the show to drive business other places. Like we have a website where I do film breakdowns. We have message boards. We do some exclusive, VIP episodes and shows. And so that's a big revenue driver for us. And we use the show as kind of our marketing catalyst to get people over there. And then we've had a couple brand deals here and there with like Whoop bands and things like that, where they give you a certain monetary amount per unit sold. And we leverage our social media to drive all of that too.
Excellent. Podcast is working out good for you as a revenue source, or are you still hoping to go back to coaching?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm loving what I'm doing. We're pushing to be a 7-figure company here, hopefully next year. And we only have 4 employees. So it's been really, really solid.
Keep it lean. That is so important. I mean, I see people get into this space all the time, and they come in with these teams that are like 10 or 12 people. They got this marketing person, that social media person, and this, and then they're out in 20 episodes or 30 episodes. Like, oh, there's no ROI in podcasting. Oh, making money in podcasting is horrible. I'm like, no, you just have bad business plan.
No question. I say that about shows with 7 people on it. It's like, 1, this is chaotic clutter. And 2, how are you paying all 7 of these people?
It doesn't work. The math, the math don't math.
No, it doesn't. And I could have done it by myself, but it's better with a co-host. So I wanted to do that. And then it got to the point where I was done I was so sick of doing the mundane tasks like editing and all of that. And so I hired a producer, and we're good. And the 4th one's my wife, just so she can have revenue. She's like, I call her our COO. She's in charge of operations, but she's an HR nightmare. So I don't know if it's a good idea.
So let's talk a little college football. I've listened to episodes, and first I'm gonna have to argue with you here. I like the Tulanes of the world getting in.
Do you?
Yes, I do. And I like it that they don't have to be in the top 12 ranking, because the AP polls and the other polls are so biased.
That's a fact.
They are so biased. It's so hard for a Tulane to be even in the top 25, or James Madison to be in the top 25. So having them in there is great. Now, are they likely to win a natty here or right now this year? Probably not. But I think Tulane has a good shot this year, given everything going on at Ole Miss. I know they lost tomorrow. I know, but still, I like seeing those schools in there, and it brings in those whole conferences that they're in. It brings them into this, to view it. And otherwise, it just feels, I don't know. Here's the way I want your thoughts on this. Mm-hmm. Here's how I kind of see college football. It's become like professional football. So you've got the Big Ten is the NFC, the SEC is the AFC, the Big 12 is the CFL. The ACC is either the USFL or the XFL.
Yeah.
The rest of college football kind of has become Arena Football League.
Yeah.
With the exception of Notre Dame, especially this week, I would have to say Notre Dame is the LFL, which is the Lingerie Football League.
Oh, right.
And given your comments on Notre Dame this week, I don't think you'd probably disagree with that too much.
Absolutely. I agree with that statement.
I do think Notre Dame should be in the Big Ten. It just fits.
It does. I mean, just regionally it fits. Everything. Brand, academics, like everything fits. And it's their pretentious nature is just frustrating. And now that do I think Notre Dame should be in the playoffs this year? I do. I think they are one of the teams in the country who have who are good enough that they could win a national championship. Yep. But I have no problem with them getting left out to just rub it in their face that their arrogance cost them. Like, okay, you want to be arrogant and keep all that playoff money without splitting it amongst the conference? Now you can't play in our tournament.
Anytime you have a limited number of teams getting in, the ones on the bubble are always going to have that the 2 that were left out are always going to have an argument about why they should have been in. Yeah. And the 2 that just got in are always going to have an argument of why they are justified to be there. And you see that with the 68 teams or whatever the top number is going to be soon here for basketball. But bubble teams, there'll always be bubble teams when it's a limit. And I mean, to me, the only time in football playoffs where I legitimately see there was no justification, and I'm sorry, I'll never agree to it, was Florida State being undefeated and left out.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Right.
I mean, that was an injustice to the rest of the team because one kid got hurt.
Right. I thought it was an injustice to college football.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was.
I mean, I think that year I was not into watching the playoffs because I was just thinking Florida State should be here.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There is no doubt. And it goes, and that leads to the next conversation is we are allowing a committee of people to decide who is good enough and are they qualified to make that distinction. There's not one. I think there's one former coach on this year's committee, but there's been years where Condoleezza Rice has an opinion on who's making the playoffs. Like politicians, energy CEOs. Like what are we doing here?
Money, money, money.
That's it. Money.
You know, you were making comments on a recent episode about were SEC players being paid over the years, and you also mentioned that Vandy players were definitely not being paid. And,
yes.
And clearly in the past, based on Vanderbilt's performance, they weren't being paid. They weren't paying their players. If they were, it was the worst ROI in the last 50 years.
Absolutely.
I mean, because let's in the last 50 years, Vandy has had 3 seasons above 500 in the SEC.
Yep.
3. 1982, they went 4-2, and that was good enough for their coach George McIntyre to be Coach of the Year. National Coach of the Year, not just SEC, but National Coach of the Year. When Vandy goes 4-2 in the SEC, you become Coach of the Year.
67% win percentage, Coach of the Year.
Right. And then 2012, they were coached by a guy that you might know, James Franklin.
Oh, yeah.
You've talked about it a little bit. And he was 5-3 and then left and obviously went to Penn State. 2024, you could almost say they had a winning season because they beat Bama, but the nil was in place.
Yeah.
And then this year, the nil's in place and they go 6-2. I'm not saying that the SEC had rampant paying of their players in the past.
All evidence.
But
it's also amazing, isn't it? The minute that it was legal to pay players, we've had Midwest Big Ten teams running the postseason. I mean, the Big Ten dominated the SEC in bowl games last year. Obviously, the last 2 national champions, Ohio State and Michigan, played Midwest Notre Dame and Big Ten Washington, though not at the time, but now they are in the Big Ten. Those are schools that weren't paying players before NIL, and all of a sudden they got the ability to. And isn't it funny how the playing field leveled?
just pure coincidence.
Certainly.
And you know, and you look at Saban, why he got out when he got out. He knew. He saw this coming. He knew exactly what was going to happen.
No question. No question he did. And he said, you know what? I don't want to play this game anymore. If I don't have my trump card, my one up on these Big Ten schools, I don't want to recruit against Ohio State.
It just really, it's really funny how things have leveled when you see Indiana, the number one team in college football. If I told you 4 years ago that Indiana would end this year number one, you would say, you know nothing about college football.
Oh,
no way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Indiana would go 13-0 and beat number 2 Ohio State for the Big Ten championship. I would have called you crazy. I'm loving it that it's playing. So the good thing about NIL is it's leveled the playing field, and now we can see who actually coaches. Yeah, oh, absolutely. No question.
If Notre Dame needs a new coach, Cignetti, I know he's signed an extension, but why would they not take him?
Well, I think he's the biggest name in coaching right now for a lot of reasons. One, this is the greatest turnaround in the history of probably sport, let alone college football for sure. And it really forced Indiana's hand to say, all right, do you want to invest in football? And they did. They gave him a huge contract. They're really pushing to become a football and a basketball school. But they had to, because if they didn't, he was going to be the top name on every single list moving forward.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was already. They were Penn State. There was already rumored of Penn State. But I mean, and by the way, he's obviously done incredible stuff in his career, and he would be a great fit there. But I think the best coach right now in college football is Day.
Yeah, I mean, he has the best winning percentage in the history of college football. So he's doing things we haven't seen before. That's for sure.
I mean, he is so. Again, Ohio State fans can be so crazy when I'm reading on the boards. Literally less than a year ago, there were still people after the Michigan game asking for his hair.
Yeah, I mean, it's going back to what you said originally. This Ohio State fan base, not different from a lot of fan bases. There is a fringe lunatic sector of them, and losing to Michigan for the 4th time in a row there was no excuse, and there was no reason he shouldn't be fired to them. even winning the national championship.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, I don't care. He didn't beat Michigan. He should be fired. You're like, he just won the whole thing, though.
I feel bad for those fans that can't enjoy the moment, can't enjoy how good a coach they have.
Right.
I mean, I'm a fan from watching. I still don't have a team, although, again, being that I went to my undergrad in Ohio, I like Ohio State football. Can't stand you in basketball, sorry. But, that's a team I root for, and I think they have a really good shot this year. I like their place in the playoffs. We'll see how it comes out. I know I'm seeing Oregon come up a lot of places as the winner. Where are you leaning? Where is let's say, forget Ohio State. Who would you see as the next best likely to get through the playoffs?
Outside of Ohio, it's hard to doubt Indiana. I mean, every time I always say on my show, every time I doubt Indiana, Curt Cignetti proves me wrong. It's like to the point where if I doubt him again, I'm the idiot. Like he's proven me wrong 100 times. I mean, again, getting the winner of Bama, Oklahoma, I think that's going to be a good matchup for them. I think them in Oregon, we saw that play out at Oregon on the road. Indiana already beat Oregon. This will be a neutral site game. And so I like Indiana to make it to the national championship, and we'll see if they can repeat their success against Ohio State. I mean, it's hard to bet against them.
It would be an interesting matchup, Indiana, Ohio State in the finals. That would, for the championship.
It really would. And I think the reason why I think Ohio State wins it all is because we've kind of seen this movie before, with it being Michigan last year. Ohio State went into that game with just a horrendous game plan, conservative play calling, and they lost the game. And then there was a lot of self-reflection, and they opened it up in the playoffs and beat everybody by double digits. And I'm at least hopeful, but I do think something similar could happen this year, where Ryan Day came in on that Sunday after taking the loss to Indiana, watched that film and was disgusted with what they decided to do offensively. And I think they have a totally different plan the second time around.
You don't think you're going to see a lot of tight ends?
I sure hope not. I mean, either I don't expect to, or I'm trying to speak it into existence. One of the two.
You seem not to have appreciated some of their play calls the last game. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes, there's no doubt about that. That is absolutely accurate.
Next year, college football, you have any projections of who you see is going to be some of the top teams?
Well, I mean, you always got to look at quarterback play. That's where it starts. And teams that get their quarterback back, like Arch Manning at Texas, Julian Sayin at Ohio State, even Michigan, I think will have some form of level up, depending on who they hire at coach now. But I think Bryce Underwood as a freshman showed a lot of promise. I don't know how good he can be, but he has a ton of talent. And then there's some schools in limbo, like Florida. They have a great young, talented quarterback who throws too many interceptions. He just needs developed in DJ Lagway. With their new coach coming in from Tulane, Summerall, I think they have a chance. And I'll be interested to see what old Lane Kiffin can do in the Bayou at LSU.
Yeah. Well, is his daughter's boyfriend still at LSU?
I think he's... Well,
or did he graduate?
I can't remember if she's dating the older or younger one. One of them is graduating. One of them returns. I think her boyfriend is done after this year.
Oh, because that would have been awkward.
Oh, yeah. That's super.
I don't want to get ahead for next season, but being, that the only team I'm really rooting for is Purdue, I have nothing but to look at next season. But
right.
And, that's my poor son. He's gotten to be there for shellackings from, last year, not this year, but the year before. Purdue's schedule was insane. I mean, all the teams they played that were in the top 10. And that's why they didn't win any of those, and they didn't win any of the Big Ten games this year either. So hopefully they'll turn around. But any other thoughts on college football, leading, whether it's around the playoffs or even the rumors of people going the super conference where they're going to, SEC and ACC and some ACC teams and Big 12 teams break off and make this super conference?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we're headed. I think that we're headed to a two super conference system. If the ACC and Big 12 want to stay alive, they probably should combine forces. It's just going that route. And you see right now just the lack of parity in comparing apples to apples. Like the Big 10 plays 9 conference games. The SEC plays 8. Teams like Penn State scheduled 3 cupcakes when Ohio State's scheduled in Texas. I think there's going to be some uniformity There needs to be, because it's not fair to compare teams like Texas gets left out of the playoffs with 3 losses, but they actually went on the road and played Ohio State. Some teams didn't play a game like that. And that's just, how can you evaluate those 2 teams just on wins and losses?
Well, I guess teams just need to pay more for their quarterbacks.
Right.
Because that worked out so well this year.
Right. It's ever changing. And boy, the last 3 years or whoever decided to allow kids to up and transfer whenever they want and get paid at the same time for the first time in college football, both together, that it just has created the wild, wild west. There was not a lot of thought that went into that. There couldn't have been.
Well, I think the thought was we're tired of losing lawsuits. So
yeah, exactly.
I don't really believe the NCAA wants it to be this way. I mean, I would assume they would, if they had their druthers, it would be, the one transfer or sit out a year kind of environment still. And obviously, I don't think they want the nil. But when they were getting ready to allow players to actually bet on sports,
right?
That to me was like the epitome of stupidity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's another thing that got rolled out around the same time. Is like, hey, now sports gambling is legal everywhere.
Yeah, it's like, let's pay these 18, 19-year-olds millions of dollars and let them bet it at the same time on sports.
It's just, it's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the whole FBI scandal breaking and this on the sports betting, they would have allowed it. I mean, that was ultimately what stopped it, right? I mean, and that could have and would have probably led to the killing of sports. I mean, when you have all the players that are able to bet and the bookies getting, anyway, I go down a rabbit hole there, but
right.
I'm glad that at least on that item, they're not letting the kids bet because they are absolutely kids.
No, yeah, they're kids, and kids are dumb, especially with money. Young kids with money make dumb decisions.
I one of the, my son's aerospace engineering at Purdue, one of the smartest kids I know. I'm like, do not bet. I go, you cannot win. There is no system you're going to come up with ever that will beat the house.
No, never.
Give it up.
I mean, I consider myself an expert in college football. Like, I study it. I have a pretty high knowledge of the game. I watch game film, not TV copy. Like, I watch actual game film, and I still can't beat Vegas.
That's why they have the big shiny buildings.
That's absolutely true.
Well, Zach, thank you for coming on. Of course, tell people where to find the show and the shows that you have. More than just the football, you also have the movies, right?
We just have Pound Town, which is our Cleveland Browns NFL show now.
Okay.
So our website's the biggest place kind of that houses everything. Menace2Sports.com with the number 2. But like I said, we switched over. We're on Rumble and Twitter, or X, or whatever you call it. I don't know what you're supposed to call it nowadays, but we're on X at Menace2Sports also. And we go live everywhere. We're just trying to grow in as many ways as possible.
What time of the day do you go live?
So we go live at noon, and then the podcast gets produced and put out pretty shortly after. We usually go noon to 1:30. The podcast is usually out by 2. But yeah, live at noon, Monday through Friday.
All right. Well, Zach, thank you again for coming on the show. Appreciate it. And good luck with Rumble. And so sorry to hear the issues you had with YouTube.
It's all right. I think it's going to be a blessing, but I appreciate you having me on, Rob.
Thanks again to Zach for being a guest on the show. And please check out his links in the show notes for episode 237. Per the interview, it was recorded using Libsyn's Connect service. I then took the mix down track, which I downloaded from Libsyn Connect as uncompressed WAV file format, and then uploaded it to Adobe Podcast, and then used the enhanced speech service with a 75% setting on speech and a 10% setting on background. I downloaded that file and then dropped it in Levelator, and then did the edits of that file in GarageBand. If you have any questions on that process or any comments, email me, podcast411@gmail.com. I wanted to get this episode out this week as it is about college football, or it's definitely college football related for the host. So no other news this episode, but I am sure I will have news to share on the next episode. So please make sure to look for it in your queue shortly, episode 238. Per Where I'm Going segment of the show, I just want to talk about PodFest in January in Orlando. I am speaking on Friday, January 16th in the morning. I am doing my State of Podcasting session. I'll go over what really is going on in the space, giving real insider numbers, plus other insights from 21 plus years in the space. I have some, let's call them fun slides planned for that session. I'll put more time into this presentation than any other I've ever done. You will not want to miss it. And as with all presentations I've done over the past 20 plus years, I'll make all the slides freely available and release them under a CC BY SA license, just like this podcast. I just believe all this information should be freely available for podcasters and not locked down. Again, you are going to want to see that session, and you should also attend the Hall of Fame ceremony that evening as well. Thanks, Mark, for inviting me to sit at your table. Folks, looking forward to seeing everyone at PodFest in January. When quoting anything I said on this podcast, please give attribution to Rob at Podcast 411 or to the guest per how their name appears in the title of this episode. This show is, once again, presented under a CC BY SA license. Grok it if you're not sure what it is. Finally, don't forget to send in your feedback for anything said or that should have been said in this episode. You can record that feedback and email it to me, podcast411@gmail.com, or you can call me 206-MOM-HELP. That's 206-666-4357. Until the next time, ciao.